Going live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first print and play stream in a long time. Many of you guys probably know that I stream every Sunday with Glenn, but I haven't done a stream on my channel in, I think, well over a year at this point. So who do we have in chat so far? We got Andrew S. Hello, Andrew. We've got JT Dragonflash under Boondock Wanderer. So you can't log on to Twitter, and everything was stolen from you yesterday. Do you mean like all, like your physical stuff or your accounts? I guess, do you have a different phone or do you still have your same phone? Like, did you have it on you? Also, let me know if I have audio. It looks like I do. The bars are moving. Hopefully we're good. I'm still playing with the lighting in this area. This is my new filming area, and I wanted to use it today, so... Hey, Scott. We'll dig into this in probably 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just going to give everybody a chance to get in and get going. Looks like we have 3 people watching so far. Probably middle of a Monday afternoon isn't the best for everybody, but for me it was a stat holiday, so I decided to take advantage of it and give this thing a shot. So this is the EasyThreeD K1. You guys probably saw the... hey JD! You guys probably saw the EasyThreeD videos. I think Linus Tech Tips put out one. I know that 3D Maker Noob, who is now Makes and Breaks, also did a video on it. They released one last year that was... or maybe it was this year. All this time's kind of blended together over the past little bit. EasyThreeD, or Threed, I guess. I thought it was EasyThreeD, but on the box it's not a stylized D. So, released a printer for sub $100 not too long ago, and since then they've kind of flooded the market with a bunch of cheap printers. So I was browsing on Walmart, and I just happened to search 3D printers, and this guy came up for about $100 Canadian. I think it was 117 with taxes. So I was interested to see what it can do, and I ordered one, and it's not a very big printer. This thing has a print surface of 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, so it's kind of a toy printer, but you know, definitely sub $100 US, which seems to be the going metric. It's the kind of thing that you can totally get for yourself or your kids as a toy. So I'm curious to see what kind of print quality we're going to get out of the box. I haven't watched any reviews. I did do a quick search to see, and there's only a couple of videos on YouTube on it, but I decided not to watch any of them and to go into this blind. So hopefully everything's in the box. The ad indicated that there should be a screwdriver and everything included, so we should be able to open this up and build it right out of the box. So the angles are okay. I know the lighting isn't great. The one problem with building here is that if I'm filming away from the build surface, there is a window directly behind me. So I know the lighting behind me in the small image isn't great, but I think it'll be decent enough for here. I'm going to sort of lean to the side a little bit when I'm building, so hopefully you guys will get a good view of what I'm doing. It is in fact tiny. Like, it's not a optical illusion. This box is it's much smaller than I thought it was going to be. I think the entire, not build volume, but the entire volume of the printer, like the physical size of it, will actually fit on a CR10. I think it's like 280 by 280 by something like that. So, oh, and Mike, Never Let the Machines Win Mike, just offered me $10 for the screwdriver that comes in it. So let's see who else has popped in. So I think we said hi to Scott and JD. Onk Snowfoot, welcome. Michael Castle is here. 3D Jeff. And I think that's everybody that said hi so far. So what do you guys think? Should we dig into it? Should we give a couple more minutes? I think we're probably, like I was saying, we're middle of a day on a Monday, so I'm not expecting hundreds of people in here. I think the Chris Riley is planning to swing by at some point and say hi, so, you know, he's cooler than me. But what do you think? Time to dig in? We're 2:05 now? Also, if you enjoy the video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I only get emotional about the thumbs up when it's on my channel, so you know when it's Glenn's, not too worried about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and dig in. So let's go ahead and cut into the tape on the edges. So here's the interesting thing. I was searching on Walmart. I haven't ordered anything off of this Walmart marketplace that they've set up to compete with Amazon. But it turns out this was a Walmart marketplace thing. I was shocked to find a cheap 3D printer that shipped in Canada, and then it turns out it didn't actually ship from Canada. So I immediately got shipping information from Canada Post, but it kind of just sat there with shipping information received for a few days. And so I contacted Walmart, and they said, oh, it's being sold by a third party. That's when I found out this Walmart marketplace thing, or how it works. And they would forward the request on. And then the seller on Walmart Marketplace let me know that it was shipping from China and that it hadn't been received by Canada Post yet, which is why it was just showing in transit, or shipping information received. So it still took, like, I think less than 2 weeks to come in, which isn't bad. I am making strides to buy a proper knife for opening stuff, so future unboxings will go easier. I haven't been doing much in the way of printers, though. I've got a request to review a printer from a company. Well, they requested that I reviewed an Ender 3, which I don't own an Ender 3. I own several CR10s, so it's basically, you know, like the little brother to the CR10. But I kind of said to them, they had a bunch of printers in their list, and I said, the Ender 3, I can do a review on it, but it's not gonna get you any extra sales. Everybody knows about the Ender 3 at this point. So I found another printer in their list that was about the same price, and I said, why don't you send me this one instead, so that you can potentially start selling a printer that isn't already super popular. Okay, so they haven't responded to me yet, so we'll see what happens. So we've got a fairly, like, it's small, but a fairly well binded manual. Introduction of startup. So I'm just seeing if there's build instructions in here. I'll hold it up. Actually, hold it up to here. That is the build instructions. It is 3 steps. Install the XZ. Hole set to base. Fix with 8 screws. The head is facing the front of the printer, and then install the filament holder. So if it is in fact that easy, then this should go pretty quickly. I got a sample roll of filament. I know when Linus Tech Tips did their review of the other printer, it came with a sample that was not deemed very good. They got terrible print quality out of it, and it increased as soon as they swapped it. So I do have a spool of some Repbox filament standing by. We have a 12 volt, 2.5 amp, 30 watt power supply. So you can imagine this isn't drawing a lot of power. So here's my theory based on looking at the picture alone. I think what we're going to find is that this thing is powered by probably 4 or 5 28 BYJ stepper motors, which is the stepper motor I used when I built the cherry printer. And basically the hot end of this is going to be a slightly souped up 3D printing pen type setup. And as such, I think they claim maybe 40 millimeters a second, and it's possible they've geared the motors to get more speed out of them. James from the Crane. So it's possible they've geared them to get extra speed, because mine tapped out at like 10 to 12 millimeters a second before the motors would basically just not really spin at all. I believe these are the pieces for the filament holder. Maybe. Yeah, they're little red plastic pieces. Oh, that doesn't count as a drop. Oh, that almost did. For those of you who haven't been here for one of the streams before, if there is anybody, I do have an unfortunate habit of dropping just about everything. So yeah, that's something that happens. We have a screwdriver and some screws, and a micro SD card reader with a micro SD card inserted. It's funny, one of the things I saw when I was shopping for printers earlier was that they weren't allowing micro SD cards to be shipped with the computers anymore. I don't know what that's about. But this one clearly came with we got a little 4 gig. It's not going to focus. You'll take my word for it. It's a little 4 gig unbranded micro SD card. So, yeah. There are 2 versions of this printer. There's the K1 and the K2. The K1 has 4 buttons in the front of it. The K2 has an integrated SSD 1306 OLED display. It is a really small 128 pixel by 64 pixel display that allows it to show the same type of Marlin status you'd get on most of the displays. I haven't used one up front, but one of the things I'm going to look into is, since I have an abundance of those little displays, I'm probably going to try connecting one to it if the headers are there, and seeing if I can get it up and running. Because my theory is it's probably the same main board and it's probably the same firmware, and the display is just not connected. We have a very short USB cable. Toss that to the side, and then I think maybe this comes out. Okay, well, there's the base of the unit. You can see how small that build volume is. It does have a magnetically detachable build surface that is very build tack-ish. It's got that grainy feel to it. It is unheated, so that is something to be aware. You will not be printing filament that requires heat. Okay. So I'm thinking this all just comes out like this. Now, one thing I've noticed right off the bat is that the hot end assembly is separated. Oh, this is interesting. So one of the complaints about the initial printers released by EasyThreeD is that they did not have any part cooling, and I didn't think this one did either. But lo and behold, and I'm going to move the camera here, lo and behold, that is a parts cooling fan. There's a fan there, and there's a fan up top. So they've included some rudimentary parts cooling with, considering how slow this thing's going to print, that gives me hope. This thing may not be... I thought this was going to be a bit of a joke, but I guess we will see. Let's see if we can snap this unit back together first. And let me see here. We have a 28 BYJ stepper motor right there. It's a little upside down. I do in fact need some, so I got one, and it turns out after the effort of tracking it down, it was a 360 kilobyte only one, which isn't too much of an issue, but I also got a computer that's got one built in. So I'm going to have to fix this beforehand. I'm just looking at how the wires and stuff are supposed to be run. It looks like everything's supposed to come out through the hole where the Bowden tube comes out. There is a little Bowden tube that comes out right there. Unfortunately, it's not going to be super easy for me to adjust camera angles today, so I'm going to take notes from this one and make future streams better. But yes, if you have extras, I would be more than happy to take them off your hands. So the plastic is damaged through here, and it already was, like, there's stress points on it. It hasn't broken, but I'll be curious to see how well that holds together. I'm actually gonna take this off again and see if I can. So this could just be a product of rough shipping. The corner of the box was dented in a little bit, but let's see if I can get all that back there. That should make everybody happy there now. Okay, we're fixed. So next, as we don't follow any of the instructions, it looks like all you have to do is set that up like this, and there is connections to be made here and here. So I can warranty it. So the thing is, because it's if I wanted to be a stickler, I think because it is a Walmart marketplace type thing, if I wanted to be a stickler, I probably could get them to replace it, but I'm not going to do that for the fact that it was a little damaged or whatever. It's not a big deal. Okay, so we've got cable ties holding the wires in place here and here. I don't have any particular complaint about that. I'm just pointing out what I see as I see it. So go ahead and connect up these stepper motors. They're using these super tiny JST style connectors. So now we've got our connections made. Everything's wired. Now I gotta get that bag of screws out and put the screws in. So you can see here there are screw holes here and here. There's a total of 4 per side, so I think we just sort of line them up, screw them in. The belts seem to be pretty well tensioned on it. It's, to be completely honest, I mean, like, obviously the fact that it arrived with that cover off and slightly damaged is not great, but the best James Cameron. I am not creating a floppy Yotron. My other YouTube channel is retro computers and stuff. I've only released 1 video over there so far, but I have several others in the making. And some of the computers that I've acquired that I'm going to be doing videos on only have 5 1/4 drives, and the problem is many of them are sort of desktop replacement style units, and the floppy drives are proprietary, so I can't take a floppy drive out of one and put it into a newer desktop to be able to read and write disks. So getting software onto them has been tricky. Eventually I got myself a I'm going to pull it out of the foam base once I've got everything screwed together. I guess you could technically probably leave it in the foam base, but anyways, I ended up with a 360 kilobyte one that does use the standard connector. So I've been running that off of a newer computer and getting files copied to it, but it doesn't do the newer version of the 5 1/4. So let's see. I guess that's not lined up. Let's find out why not. That's right. We're going to get just the best quality prints out of this thing. So interesting things. The Z-axis uses belts. These are not the standard GT2 belts. They are quite a bit thinner, as are the ones on the hot end and the bed. This is going to be the kind of printer where it's like because I know some people will buy cheaper printers and it gets them up and running, but they get them with the idea of, I'm going to reuse the parts to I'm going to reuse all the parts to build a better printer. That's not going to be the case in this one. Other things to keep in mind is that where on a traditional printer, when unpowered, you could move the bed back and forth and the head back and forth, these 28 BYJ steppers are internally geared, so you're not going to be able to do that without damaging the motors. They just resist too much, which is also why the which is also why the Z-axis is staying at the top and not automatically sliding to the bottom under the weight of itself. How's everybody's Monday going? Somebody got a case of the Mondays? Okay, there, the assembly's done. We're 20 minutes in. We're ready to calibrate and print. This is exceptionally light. There are 4 screws holding the feet on. I can see that in fact there is a 28 BYJ motor there. I would guarantee at this point everything is 28 BYJ run. Let me know where or if I should adjust any of the angles. I apologize for the coughing. I'm just looking to see if there's anything overly interesting. The smooth rods are hollow, so those are going to probably bend a little bit easier. But as a result, they're also quite a bit lighter. They're being held in place by these set screws. I'm assuming if the ones for the bed are hollow, that they're all hollow. They don't look hollow on this end, but you flip it around, there's no backings on them, so it's you know, the plastic's got some give to it. I don't think they spent any extra money on it that they didn't have to. Go ahead and give it power. I'm federal, so it is. We get this instead of Family Day. Or no, we get Remembrance Day instead of Family Day. So you plug it in and it starts up. I'm assuming these guys go. So I know these guys are more or less specifically designed to hold samples, which is not going to be particularly helpful for me. I probably should have brought over a filament holder, but maybe we'll start off with a sample because it's what we got. But let's take a look at the instructions and see how we're supposed to get started printing. Do you guys want me to bring this camera down lower now that it's built so you guys can get a better view of it doing stuff? Would that be helpful? Just waiting before we get started to see what people would prefer. Like, is the view good from there? Would you like it closer? I could potentially zoom it. Coke Zero has entered the chat. I'm supposed to also double check that the X motor is installed and connected properly, which I'm going to assume it is. How do I home it? Is it just the home button? You need to level the build platform. Please adjust the distance between the nozzle using 1, 2, 3, 4. Click the home button, the Z will position. That actually moves significantly faster than I was expecting it to. Okay, so we press the home button and the Z moves into home. And according to this, at this point I'm actually supposed to unpower it. And it says that you are in fact supposed to be able to move this by hand. That does not seem to be the case for me, but... Okay, I can move the bed. Let me see here. First of all, let's go ahead and bring this down. We'll zoom it in a bit. That's better, right? Now you guys have a better view of the oh. I'm not a big fan of this, I'm going to be honest. I guess I should probably be, I don't know, using a card. Let's find out. That kind of feels okay. That kind of feels okay. Kind of feels okay. I think that's going to be the motto of the day. I wonder if there is already a pre-sliced file on here, because that would be great. Because I think if we just jump ahead to whatever's going to happen here. Sorry about my head if it was in the way. You know what they didn't include that every... Oh, you know what? Did I not finish putting the screws in? Or did it come with extras? No, I put the screws in there. Okay, maybe it came with extras. Not gonna fault them for that. Didn't come with flush cutters. I've said the joke flesh cutter so much that I just about screwed up the line. This filament does not feel great. Yeah, that's what I was saying, is that generally speaking, they recommend not moving stuff by hand with those motors, but the instructions said to specifically. Because I know the 28 BYJs that I used for the Cherry 3D printer, I broke one of those by manually moving it. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of this, but hey, we're not going anywhere, so let's see how we start a print, shall we? Install filament holder. Oh, I goofed. This is supposed to go through here. I don't know if you guys can see that. The two filament holders, it's actually 3 pieces, and the second piece fits in between the first two. And then the filament rolls like this instead. Give me 2 seconds to straighten this out here. I need another set of hands. Maybe want to drive over quick and give me a hand here? Okay, there we go. Sort of. Okay. $10 for some printed solid filament, but $10 is like $1.80. No. Oh yeah, if you're donating Canadian, then yeah. Otherwise, it looks like it moves more than FK1. You know what? I should print a benchy on, because I think Glenn hasn't done a benchy that's 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. So it'd be funny to print one that's bigger on this. That's bigger. Print. Press the play button, and the button light flashes regularly, starting the print. It'll choose the last G code written. Let's see what happens. move this back a little. Let me see what I've missed in chat. Kind of reminds me of every 8090. Okay, so here's a thing. If you've ever used the re-release of the Creepy Crawlers oven or the re-releases of the Easy Bake ovens where they were plastic, this is that same plasticky feel. So, in my opinion, assuming this thing does what it's supposed to, which is, print something, if this works half decently, then at $100 in that type of competing market as a maker thing for kids, I think this could be all right. 6 or 7 hours. We'll do a mobile live stream. I'll meet you halfway somewhere and we'll get this thing. So that's the thing too. The power consumption on this thing is so low at 2.5 amps at 30 watts. This entire printer uses less power than like an E3D hot end. So are we getting hot? Is there heat coming out? I have no way of knowing. So I pressed the play button. Load the filament. Insert into the print head tube until it can go no further. Be gentle. Press the filament to stop it running back. Oh, there we go. I didn't finish loading the filament, so... It is putting out plastic now. I would in fact, yes, please save me a couple of the 5 1/4 drives if you don't mind. Okay, so we have plastic coming out, so the whole point of this camera was to hopefully give you guys a view. So I'm going to have to stop this because it was printing a raft or something on the bed at the beginning. And, I do it like that. I don't think by the time it got plastic out, it was close enough to the bed anymore. Let's just see what happens, though. Maybe this will be okay. The part cooling motor is not turned on yet. How's that for a view? I can actually zoom it in even more if you want. There we go. Less of me, more of the printer. It's what everybody wants. What happens if this thing is really good? I could run this thing on a quick bank built of the 18688 batteries. I hear something's clicking. I thought it was the hot end, but it clicks at the same movement every single time when it's moving forward and backwards. I mean, it may end up, like, I was planning to give it to somebody around here as a toy, but 18650s. Thanks, Andrew. If it does a good job, this might end up being the one that I bring places with me. I don't know why 18650 always gets messed up in my head. I didn't see what tensioning system they used, if any. You know what? I think they smells a little burny, but that might just be the hot end burning out dust and stuff. The tensioning system, I think, is simply this plastic piece here. It slides so that you probably put the screws most of the way in, pull it till it's tight, and then tighten it down to hold it in place. Yeah, 24 minutes. The USM, and we waited for a few minutes for the unboxing. So, how is the 3D printing professor today? We're gonna have time to do a second print on here. I don't know what it's printing now. It's just whatever was on the SD card. It'll be interesting too if I can couple this potentially with a. So if I put a 12-volt 5-amp power supply with it, and then I can wire internally and like an orange Pi or something, the cheapest Pi I can get so it comes. Sorry, I'll finish my thought. So my thought process right now is that I have a couple of orange Pis that were like the $5 orange Pi. They don't have HDMI out on them or anything like that, but they do have built-in Wi-Fi. So I am curious now if I could install one of those internally, get it up and running, and then basically have a built-in Wi-Fi 3D printer that, you know, I'm not going to pick it up while it's printing because I feel like that's not fair to it, but, you know. So I have not taken a look at the slicer software. I know it comes with a proprietary one, and it automatically prints whatever the last G code was put on it, so I can probably take a look at the sample and get an idea of what they were doing for like retraction and print speeds, and build a profile up and, you know, cruise a slicer or Cura or whatever. It is you guys can probably hear. Oh, that's the other thing. Is the audio still okay with this physically contacting that, or has it gotten pretty noisy? I forget what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, it's definitely running straight G code. It does come with its own slicer. I just want to figure out what the profile settings that they use to slice their sample are, and use that as a kickoff point. Because it looks like, but so right now the thing is, it's just straight. Like this sample was probably chosen specifically because it doesn't require any retraction. There's no additional movement. It's basically almost like a vase mode type print. It is also louder than any of the 28 BYJ printers I've used before, and it is moving significantly faster than the ones I've used in the past. So that was interesting to me. It doesn't look like it's crawling. So yeah, I'd like to see if first of all if it's connectable via Octoprint. We won't do that during the stream today, but start off with seeing if it's connectable from there, and then see if I can turn it into a full standalone unit. I think that would be neat. The layers look fairly even, although it is white, so it kind of just blends everything together a little bit. How is the angle for printing? Is that pretty good? Would you like it zoomed in more on the actual build surface, or do you like being able to see a bit of the printer with it? It is very creaky while it is printing. I am not going to lie. I don't know what it uses for bearings or bushings. Also, thanks for everybody that came out to hang out today. If you're hanging out and you wouldn't mind clicking the thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. I'm using this one as a sort of kicking off point to decide if going forward I'm going to do builds of printers on streams or if I'm just going to build them and review them. I enjoy hanging out and doing the stream. I just want to make sure people are getting value out of it. It used to be in the past, and we'll see if it's still like that now. I would do a stream and I would lose 2 to 4 subscribers. So let's take a look. It was kind of a running gag. Oh, we went up by 1 today. I think if it's using anything, because there is a chance that literally they've just tightened the plastic enough that it slides and greased it, although it's not super greasy. I think they're probably using brash bushings, just based on the size of the surrounds on them. On the plus side, with it being so low powered, we don't really have to worry about thermal runaway or anything like that, you know, catching it on fire. You're a good guy, Red Light. Red Light by name, but green light to me. We have 17 people hanging out. I haven't checked to see how the stream's doing, but I would imagine that we're pretty awesome. Looks like it's printing like the world's smallest star-shaped shot glass or something. Careful you don't get sued by Disney for using the name Electro, though. Is it actually printing a rocket? Have you used one before? Oh, I just heard some retraction. Maybe I missed something through the conversation. I was checking the bed just to make sure that there was no heat to it. This printer's been so full of surprises, I figured I'd check for one more. Oh, I didn't see it. I searched this model and I only saw like 2 videos pop up on it. Was it this exact one or was it one of the other EasyThreeD ones? Nadav Mavor showed up after saying that they were blocking my channel from the DNS stuff on the router. That's okay. You're always welcome here, even if you don't like me. Just add a DNS redirect so that when you go to my channel, it redirects to a channel that isn't terrible. This is the EasyThreeD K1. I don't know if you included it in the title of your video. Oh, so yours is the K7. This is the K1. And that's what I was saying, is that they kind of they flooded the market with a ton of different versions of their printers. So this is the K1 with 4K control, or 4-key control. And yes, the entire printer will fit on the print bed of a CR10. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what it says on the box. It's entirely possible it's the same printer. I don't know. Maybe after the stream, you and I can compare notes, see if there's anything that makes it different. But yeah, when I searched for printers, I did see all sorts of ones that look kind of just like this one. It's not going to win any speed competitions, but it is doing significantly better than I thought it was going to. Unless the 3D printing professor is going to tell me that things get worse. Oh, okay. So the K7 is the it's cantilever then? The Hero 101. So to be fair, the Hero 101 uses the same stepper motors as this. And it's remarkably quiet. Well, not remarkably quiet. That's one of the things about the motors on this. I would say the only thing that I have against it so far is the quote-unquote filament holder. I'm definitely going to have to print something off to the side. To be fair is something that gets said a lot during our streams on Sunday, for those of you that aren't there for the Sunday streams. Chris Riley and I were supposed to do a challenge at some point where we would find the most terrible 3D printers that we could find possible and mail them to each other, and then have a contest over the course of a month to see who could get theirs working the best. We were going to set a budget and everything, but Chris and I both end up being fairly busy people, so... We've got 23 people hanging out watching this sub $100 US printer. Rock and roll. I'm going to go ahead and say, like, early impressions are pretty strong. But you are trading the fact that this is not going to be a heavily modifiable 3D printer. Joe, did yours have a parts cooling fan as well? Because I know that a lot of the early EasyThreeD or EasyThreeD or whatever printers didn't have a part cooling fan, and that was one of the big complaints. Oh, all to say, the Hero 101 was one that I was actually considering sending him. But I know that there are people that have modified those things quite heavily to run a. I've had them run NEMA 17 motors. I don't suppose you want to do me the favor of telling me what your basic settings were for Cura while this is finishing up so I could get a profile going, would you? Okay. Well, if you're at work, probably not then. But, let me see if there's anything in the manual about the print speeds. So, let's see, print speeds, is it in here? So it's running the hot end between 180 and 230 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it doesn't give me the speed settings. Robbie Mac is here. We are, I would say, nearing completion of this rocket ship. So I could. I could open it manually, but the SD card is currently in the printer running the print. So I was just trying to get a head up, or a leg up, on getting this thing up and running for the next print. Okay. Well, we can do that then. Fire Falcon says there are profiles available on Thingiverse for the K1 and the K7. Okay, well, we can hop over there real quick. Nothing came up for EasyThreeD K1 Cura. What about EasyThreeD K1? I'm assuming all of these guys use the same hot end, so let's just do EasyThreeD Cura. Yeah, I didn't plan ahead for having potentially other people join, but I'll make sure in the future that I, in fact, do that. We're just about done. I think I'll just go with the new profile with default settings for the moment. Printer, add printer. Don't imagine they added them to here already, do they? No, there's no EasyThreeD. Let's go with custom. And X, Y, Z is already default 100. I'm just gonna need 1.75 millimeter filament. no heated bed. Next. Do 0.2 millimeter layer heights. Right, and retraction. Joe, do you happen to remember what you said for retraction? I mean, it's basically direct drive, so I'm just gonna do 0.4. Probably good. I see a link from Mike. I'm clicking on it. Oh, and we're just at the tip. Interesting. That end routine is a little interesting. Okay, so we have this nice magnetic removable bed that is stuck on there fairly decently. I mean, you can hear it peeling away. No visible damage or markings to the bed, so that's good. So we'll just line that back over. Sorry, trying to, is it going to focus? Probably not. If we take a quick look, the layers all look pretty good. They're a little thick, but that's fine. Where it was attached to the raft, white is a terrible color for this. It's not perfect. We don't have perfect bonding because there was no smush in it. I don't know if a raft is necessary for the printer, but oh, I see. So there are some profiles available right off their site. Just take a look and see what's going on in chat. And it worked for a 14-hour print that filled the print bed. Okay. So that was the big thing for me too, is that the fact that the filament path is so short on this, it should be able to do that. I think we're going to give a Benchy a try, because I miss Chris Riley terribly. So give me 2 seconds to see if I can snag the Curo profile. Cura Slice set profile. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, I downloaded it. So we're supposed to be able to pop the card from this, load it up into our card reader, plug it into the computer. My computer's on the other side of the room. I've just run USB and extension cables and stuff all the way over here because... Okay, so they've got the K1 Cura profile here, so that is perfect. We'll do a copy. Let's make a K1 directory. I will be back in chat in a moment. And let's do file. It's actually been a while since I had to import something into Cura. From profiles over here and import. Manage, import, desktop, and then I'm one of those monsters that stores a bunch of stuff on my desktop. Okay, K1 profile has been imported. 0.2 layer, yeah, and it puts a brim on stuff, and generate supports is set to true. I'm not going to put a brim on stuff because I don't think that's going to be necessary, and I want it to prove me wrong. First of all, let's select the profile, the K1, and brim is turned off. And I just need to go find myself my Benchy. I will check chat before I do that, though. Don't want to leave you guys hanging. The Chris Riley is in the house. We have our first print, Chris. Yep, it's not going to show up. This camera does not want to focus on things. I think, actually, if I do it like this and then do this. Come on. Focus. It sees it. There we go. You can see it's actually pretty decent. I will know more once I take a look at the electronics underneath. Can you switch your screen? So I actually only have one screen over here. And I didn't set up screen sharing, but I'll be done in 2 seconds anyway, so bear with me and we'll get the next print going. I'm 80% positive. Because I have a directory called Benchy, and in there I have a 3D Benchy, and I'm doing this just for our good friend, the Chris Riley. Just want to make sure your supports are not turned on. Go ahead and click slice while I'm looking. And they were, so turn off generate supports. Click slice. 1 hour and 42 minutes. Well, we're gonna go for it anyways. So let's do save to removable media. Eject. And according to the instructions, it will just automatically pick up with whatever the last G code was saved to it. So this one's for you, the Chris Riley. We're heating. So it's interesting. As soon as the heater turned on, second here. Close enough. Can you switch? No brim. Living dangerously. So as soon as I hit the start button, it started preheating the hot end. The fan, not the parts cooling fan, but the hot end cooler. It actually lost some torque. So the build volume on this is 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. I appreciate everybody that is sharing this. It looks like the 3D printing professor shared it on his Discord, and I appreciate that. Yes, using a banana for scale for this thing, the banana would win. Well, welcome to all the newcomers. My name's James Cameron. Not the James Cameron, just a James Cameron. As soon as this thing starts printing, I'll get the other camera back in place. Here we go. Now to see if it stayed level. Shalom is in the house. How's it going, Shalom? It's been a while. I guess we're printing on a raft. I'm too lazy to reslice it, so we'll just leave it the way it is. The other James Cameron has millions of dollars. No matter what, he is better looking than me. We're off on print number 2. So this is a 100% size benchy, so when you look at it and go, oh, what size benchy is that it takes up the entire bed? That will give you the indicator of how big the bed is. I think it's just creaking plastic. I don't see anything hitting anything. Yeah, so it's basically a slightly magnetic sheet, and they've added a build tack like surface to the top of it. John from You Do It is here. Hello, John. Canada Land is doing okay. I can't complain too much. They told me to stop. Sorry that we're still printing using the white sample. I am too lazy to switch to something else. If it was just a matter of throwing another spool of filament onto it, I would. But for those who were here at the beginning, the filament holder on this is meant to hold samples. So this will be a hit when I go to rep festivals and stuff, though. It's not the exterior skipping. No, there's just there's a spot in the one of the axes that's creaking, or possibly both. There's no jumping in the filament line, though, and there's no under extrusion in the first print. I guess it's both axes that have creaks. So there is belt tensioning on the x-axis as well. It's the same type of thing, though. You loosen these screws and then you push it till the belt's as taut as you want it. Yeah. Kanakistan? Hey, we go by many names. We're too polite to correct people. Even when they're really, really, really wrong. Everything buffers differently, Shom. I imagine the hot end assembly on this thing is not going to be fun to repair if it gets jammed, but... they look rough because it was printing a raft and there's no ring around it, so it's actually just a bunch of lines back and forth. Yeah, I forgot to turn off raft, so... So it turns out, it turns out this came through a Walmart marketplace thing. Walmart's doing the same thing Amazon does now. If you buy a 3D printer off of Amazon, you're not really usually buying it directly from Amazon. It's usually from somebody who sells through Amazon. For those who weren't here for it, we did get our first print. It's a little rocket ship. It turned out pretty decent. It's not going to win any awards. Yeah, so the raft was by default in their profile. I did intend to print without one, and then apparently I didn't uncheck it, so I'm too lazy to reslice right now. We want to get this first Cura sliced print off of it, and we'll see how it goes. Can't tell if that creaking's getting worse or just more annoying. Maybe the next print I'll make sure it's in like the back left corner so I don't have it hitting those spots where the creaking is. I did not print it with supports. I definitely switched off supports. So the printer was under $100 US. It's fluctuated a bit since then. It was 117 with taxes Canadian, and its build volume is 100 by 100 by 100. So she's just tiny. There's my hand by comparison. This is a regular sized benchy that it's printing a raft for. If you've got an idea for bad printers, go ahead and, if you're on Twitter, you can message me on Twitter. Fire me the link. My DMs are open. It does sound like it's coming from the bed. I've been trying to see if it's... Well, maybe it's here. I can feel it. We'll do some diagnostics after the fact. It may not be on stream, but... Yeah. $100 gets you 100 by 100 by 100. And 100 centimeters of filament. Wait, no. 1,000 centimeters. We're doing some lettering. Look at it go. I absolutely hate how bad writing looks on a raft, but what are you gonna do? When I do the review of this, I'm gonna use stuff that I've printed in filament that's not white. Chris, I was telling them before you got here about how you and I planned to do a 1-month build contest where we were going to send each other terrible printers. I don't know if you remember that conversation. And then I don't think either of us have had the time. But the idea is we'd get a month with, each get a month with a printer picked by the other person and see who can get the best prints out of it. Also, print is quite solid. So, that's nice. Sounds like it's dragging in the filament a little bit. Something a little scratchy there. Pain in the butt, clog in the Prusa Mini. Took the 45 minutes to fix it, but it's good now. Still have another Prusa Mini. Been sitting here in the box for over a month. You gotta get it out, man. That printer deserves to stretch its legs. If you are new here and wish to stick around, I would invite you to click that subscribe button. And if you haven't, and you're enjoying the stream, please click the thumbs up. I definitely think it'll be fun if we can get some free time. We'll do. I'd say if we can ship each other printers, we can line up to do an unboxing stream together, and maybe the first build, and then go from there. Reconvene in a month's time. This thing's pretty adorable, I'm not gonna lie. Don't worry about it. I have people that thumbs down me all the time. Some people don't like the way I look, some people don't like my voice. Some people call me stupid. I don't care. Take care. Enjoy the crane life. We're on, I would say, layer 2. I don't mind a challenge. So far, the only printer I've had that has not the only printer I've had so far that's been more frustration than enjoyment was the Tronxy X5S, and from what I can tell, I got a bad one. I'm not going to say those lines out loud, Sean, because I don't want to get copyright strike or whatever. Well, it's one guy, but he's got 2 thumbs. It is a Benchy. I'm doing it in honor of our good friend Chris Riley. And we're broadcasting right now for the first time from my new filming / I guess streaming area. I built and stained this myself. So that's why I'm not showing too much of it, because my craft skills aren't always the best. Perhaps better than average, but. So yeah, this is from the same company that did that $100 3D printer a while ago that everybody was covering. Makes and Breaks / 3D Maker Noob did it. The big one was that Linus Tech Tips did a full video on it. And one of the things that was lacking was a parts cooling fan, according to the reviews that I saw. This printer has a parts cooling fan right there, and it's got a little duct, so it's blowing right onto the print. And there's an additional fan up here that keeps the extruder and the motor for the extruder cool. And it's pretty quiet. You would be able to have this running while you're watching TV or something like that, and it wouldn't get in the way. Why, thank you. Compliments will get you everywhere. I don't care which printer you send me, I'm going to send that one to Chris Riley. Go back and end up eating my words, it's going to be like a $2,000 printer. I have not seen it yet. I only have, so my main desk is actually over on the other side of the room. So I ran an HDMI cable over here so I could have one screen. So it hasn't been optimal for me having additional stuff open, but let me take a look on my phone. The fact that this started printing pretty much easy right out of the box, I was worried it was going to be the type of printer you wouldn't want to refer to as a starter printer, but it's doing a pretty good job. It was not a frustrating start. It was literally 8 screws to assemble it. Oh, that is quite the kit. Alright. Right off the bat, the sample print they have is 2 colors. Is there a second extruder on it that I missed, or? It looks weird. That is a weird looking printer. The extruder they're using on it doesn't have proper filament guiding on it. So it'll be real easy for it to get chewed up or pushed to the side there. I shouldn't be pointing out the flaws because if Chris is still here, I could be helping him if I send him that one. He'd be like, oh, well, I know what I'm going to do for that. This is the kind of printer that you could potentially hand to your kid, and if they destroyed it, you wouldn't be too heartbroken. I got a little bit of curling on the tip of that benchy. This is one of those things, too, where if I rotate it to a different because the cooling on this thing isn't going to be, well, like, perfectly distributed. So if I pointed the benchy to the front, the nose of it probably would have gotten better cooling and have less curling. The color correction on this on that camera is moving overtime with that red piece constantly moving out. It does look kind of orange in here, but it is more red than orange. Joe, did you notice if the smooth rods on yours were hollow? I will watch your review of the other unit tonight. See what you thought of it. I love buying printers that are a bit of a gamble and seeing what I can do with them. I've run out of space. I've got a couple that I'm going to give away. They all need work, and I just don't feel like putting the effort into re-repairing them. So. I can't tell if it's just the way the shadows look on it right now, but the layers do not look as clean on this print as they did on our little rocket. I really want to get that little glob of plastic off the bottom right corner of the bed, but I don't want to end up like pushing down on it and screwing up the print. I try not to sabotage printers. I want them to have their best chance of success. I've got a drawer full of printer samples, so I might throw some more samples at it after this. For those curious about the way the filament holder works, you can see it's basically a couple plastic bars to go off the back and you toss your sample filament on there. It is not big enough for a full roll. I had actually earmarked, I have some miniature rolls of rep-cord filament, but I don't even think that I would be worried about how much weight you should put on this. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, no word of a lie. That is what's going through my mind right now. Is that I've got probably 30 or 40 samples that are still vacuum sealed from various maker fairs. I wonder how resilient that bed is going to be, and if EasyThreeD sells replacement ones, because they should. I can pan this out a little bit so you can... I probably can't zoom it out enough that you can see the filament holder, actually. We won't mess with what's working. I will have to take a look. I have not seen the spool holder that EasyThreeD put out. So the play button is literally, you stick your SD card in, and you hit the play button, and it will print the last G-code file written to the SD card. So that part is pretty simple. And while it's printing, you can hit the play button to pause the print and then resume the print. I think part of the imperfections, I'm going to have to take a look at Cura. I think it's printing infill before the walls, and I think the infill is, as a result, is showing through on the outside. So let's do, take a look here and see if I'm correct. Yeah, it's got infill before wall, so it's a stronger part, but you end up with artifacts from the infill on the outside of the print. If my first 3D printer had worked this well out of the box, I would probably be more well adjusted as a maker. What's everybody else printing on these on this lovely Monday afternoon? This entire thing, if we're being completely honest, is super kid-friendly. The whole design is obviously targeted to make it look like a toy, but in a good way. So you can see we got a play button, we have a plus button and a minus button, which are used for adding and removing filament. And we have a home button, and that's it. There is a K2 version of this that has a little dial here and then puts a SSD 1306 OLED display here, which gives you the same type of readout as Marlin, like a regular Marlin RepRap style screen, but the screen is actually smaller than these two buttons put together. It's 128 by 64 pixels and it's 0.96 inches diagonally. I haven't finished soldering up the wiring for the print and play sign in the background, so I've been keeping it mostly focused on the bed. So let's see. Shalom's working with several mini smoke detectors and trying to nail down the best size and direction for his printing. Chris Riley only prints Benchies, so he's currently printing Benchies. Mike says he's printing a bracket to mount a monitor because he can't find the original. Andrew's first printer came with a stepper motor not plugged in, and they sent him ABS instead of PLA. Yeah, I think learning to print with ABS would be very frustrating. Alan King says he is printing an enclosure for a 4G blink camera. The 3D printing professor was working on some Arduino code, but ended up getting sidetracked by choosing a name for his new Print-A-Block project, which adds electronics to the Print-A-Blocks for rapid prototyping. So this one does not have a display. The K2 version of it does. So I think the K2 one might be like $10 more expensive, but this one came in so cheap that I picked the cheapest one of the ones I saw on purpose. Andrew's now printing an Apex Legends character that he remixed out of resin on his X1. I mean, I like Electro the most. I just get concerned about the Disney implication for it. So I was planning to end the stream at 4, which is in 27 minutes, but I kind of want to see how the Benchy finishes. I would imagine some of you do too. So I may just hang out until the Benchy's done and show it off. You got 2 votes for the beep boop. Looks like we are printing the first layer of the deck. Nope, it was the first layer of the little storage box on the back of the Benchy. My bad. I hope Chris isn't too mad that I screwed up a Benchy fact. I think I still have... I might have actually just thrown it out. The first roll of filament I got was a no-name roll of PLA. It was blue, and it was from a company called Biopi in Ottawa, Ontario. I didn't really prepare for printing a second print. It may not have been a Benchy if I'd been more prepared, because I didn't think I thought the initial print was going to take pretty much the rest of the stream. I expected this printer to be a lot slower than it is. The layers aren't perfectly even, but they're decent enough. I keep jamming this mini rocket that we printed onto my finger, almost getting it stuck. I I mean, we started unboxing it on 205, and it was printing by 225. Everybody head over to the 3D Printing Professor's Twitter and vote on which name you like. I'm gonna do it. I think the overall impressions on these EasyThreeD printers so far has been they're quite good for the money. I was the first person to vote. It's doing 40 millimeters a second for the infill. There's quite a bit of heat radiating off the steppers themselves, from what I can feel. Yeah, they're running pretty hot. Like, I'm not even touching them directly, and the plastic around them is quite warm. It seems like that cracking is actually getting quieter as time goes on, so maybe it's taking care of itself. That'll be the next upgrade. They're going to stick a 20 millimeter or 30 millimeter cooling fan on each of the steppers to make them last longer. I would imagine. I don't think the motors on the motors on the Cherry printer got very warm. But the other thing is, if I tried to run them faster than 10 millimeters a second, they just wouldn't run. Now we're printing the top level of the deck on the benchy. We have 27 people hanging out right now. Kind of a first world problem. I bought this printer hoping that it was going to be hot garbage because that would make a more interesting video. Heck, I'm not even gonna have affiliate links set up for this. I mean, I don't use affiliate links much anymore, anyways. I mean, I wouldn't mind if 2 more people came to hang out. That'd be all right by me. I've been tossing it on Twitter, so most of the people that follow me have probably seen something about it in the past couple of days. We have 27 watching and we have 20 thumbs up. I mean 27 thumbs up. Everything balanced as it should be. Blasting it out on the Twitters again. Oh, just the whole build. How could you change your name back? It took me a second. You missed our Coke Zero sponsorship. Well, thank you for all the thumbs up. In reality, the worst thing you can do to a YouTuber is not click anything. People that click thumbs down or whatever don't realize that it's in terms of the analytics, it's the same type of participation. So I'm hoping it's doing one more top layer on that deck because it doesn't look great. I will have to check out the work that they have done. It does look like we are doing one more layer on the deck. My wish has been granted. I should have asked for $1 million. Shoot. I wouldn't say they're always ready to sponsor someone. It took Glenn and I asking for years before we finally got our first one. I have not used a Prusa Mini by myself, or like I haven't used one firsthand yet. It is on my list of things to acquire. I would like to get one to have it be my bring everywhere printer. My filament holder keeps popping up. So this is the EasyThreeD K1, and it has motors on either side. So yeah, both sides of the x-axis are supported, like slash z-axis. You can see there's here, you just see the rod and the motor that powers it, and then there's the motor and the rod over here, yeah, it's bridged across. Yeah, Coke Zero popped in to the stream yesterday and gave us a little sponsorship. Glenn was ecstatic. Well, I think this first stream back after I don't know how long since my last stream on the channel has paid off. I haven't clicked the ad button at all yet though, so. Did anybody get an ad when they started doing the stream? Thanks for swinging by. I appreciate it. I think I'm partially glad I didn't see your review of the other version of this printer first, because I wanted to go in completely unbiased, not knowing what I was getting into. But now I will watch it. Yeah, they're pretty warm. The Z ones obviously aren't too bad because they're not doing much, but. The X one is armed and dangerous. So I think this printer boils down to, and I think most of the ones in this line were like, hey, what if we took a 3D printing pen and automated it? Even the cheap printers are getting clones now. I mean, I guess that's been true ever since the first person cloned the Ender 3. I almost bought a King Rune at some point. I don't remember what changed my mind. Yep, this is 100 by 100 by 100. Which, I mean, it's tiny, but I think of the number of prints that I've done that are able to fit into 100 by 100 by 100. The top looks alright. I think it might benefit from a little bit of Z-lift, because you can see where it brushed against the top layer when it was changing positions. And hey, those Z motors are barely doing anything, so you want to get them to work out too. Maybe I'll 3D print that. I don't know if the toaster will fit on here, actually. That toaster benchmark where it all folds up and snaps together. It's got moving parts. Okay, so the most confusing thing for me right now is the belts. Because they look like they're GT2 belts, but they look like they've been cut in half, like down the middle. That is one of the things I'd be slightly concerned about if you have to replace them. I think if people stick around till the end, and assuming this doesn't run too close to supper time, I might flip it over and open up the bottom to see what's inside it for electronics. Be curious to see what the board is in it. Extrusion got a little inconsistent there for a layer or two towards the top of the side of the Benchy. Oh, yeah. And scaling it down means decreasing the tolerances, which I don't think is going to be a great idea for this printer, but... So far, my most reliable printer in terms of, like, just straight out being able to print on it is my Prusa. 100%. It's, we were talking about it yesterday during the stream. Its print quality isn't the highest. There are printers that print higher quality stuff, but it is very reliable. I tell it to do something and it does it. So I've switched it so that it'll no longer print infill before the walls. I think I'm going to decrease the speed of the outer walls a little bit more than it is. Have a good night, Chillum. So some of the stuff that I'm seeing can be fixed with profile tweaks. A little bit of the random globs and stuff like that where there's no rhyme or reason for it, or inconsistent extrusion is just going to come down to the way the extruder is built. So that might, if it ends up being a bothersome thing, it might require mechanical changes, but honestly, if it's just the occasional blip and bloop here, then it's no big thing. My phone's been going dead exceptionally fast. I need a new one, but I've been too lazy to transfer my stuff off of here. And too cheap to buy a replacement. Thanks for swinging by, Fire Falcon. Thanks for all the feedback and whatnot. Hopefully we'll see you again in a future stream. I added you back. I can't unlock my phone now, which just displays the time when I press the power button. It doesn't display the unlock screen. So it comes with their own proprietary slicer, but there's also Kira profiles available. So the Benchy itself is sliced using Kira. I don't know if their proprietary slicer is open source. I can take a look at the manual and find out maybe. EasyWare KS is the name of the slicer that they recommended. Just says the EasyWare has been independently developed. And it says, if you want better printing quality, you will need to learn how to use Kira Slicer. We supply teach manual. The manual isn't terrible. It is a little bit broken English, but it's not bad. Came with an actual, like, bonded book. I'm curious how it's going to handle overhangs. I think it moves fast enough that it'll probably be able to do a decent job, and the little part cooling fan seems to be doing okay. There isn't too much warping on the front of that Benji. I keep wanting to use the proper terms for like bow and stern and stuff like that, but I always get them mixed up. I sound silly. For those who haven't been here from the beginning, the creaking seems to be in the plastic itself and not anything related to the extruder. Let me take a look. Oh yeah, so that's where I downloaded the profiles before too. Nano cooling fan cover. There's nano fan cover.stl. I'm really curious what the main board in this is going to end up being and what stepper drivers it's using. And of course, if any of it's replaceable. Kay's doing okay. Her best friend has been basically hanging out by herself for a while, and this is not the Prusa Mini that you purportedly ordered for me. I'm just kidding. For those who weren't around, Loyal Moses and I were having a little joke fest back and forth about that printer that Chris Riley had been working on, and I asked him if I changed my name to Sponsored by Loyal Moses, if he would buy me or send me a free printer. So we had a good time. So Kay's best friend, because she'd been isolated for so long, came down to visit Kay, which is nice because it's been a year and a bit since she's been able to see anybody. Monolithic board. I have not seen a. Are you monolithic the description, or is monolithic the actual like brand of the board? If it's the brand of the board, I have not heard of it before. And how is Loyal Moses today? we'd be done that benchy by now. I'm pretty sure if we hadn't put down the raft. Chris, how would you rate the quality of that benchy? I should zoom in some more, right, so everybody can get a better look at the benchy. Get you up here. Wonder if I can adjust the angle. Probably not. Sorry, guys. Small movements make big movements here. But there, now you can see that benchy even more clearly. See, if I rebooted my phone. Now I can unlock it. I've got 6% battery left, so I'm doing all right. Yeah, I intended to print green, but I would have had to dig out a filament spool holder. And ever since I built my wall of filament, and I designed a filament holder that just snaps onto it, I haven't really kept any of the standalone ones running. So we have 33 likes. So at least at some point we had 33 unique viewers in here. Not that horrible. Yes, I've seen worse benchies by my own hand. I don't think this thing is ever going to win the benchy speedrunning contest. I don't know what the maximum layer height it can handle. I'm assuming the extruder is not the type of thing you want to push too hard. I mean, it seems to have stuck to the bed better than the one that Chris had printed on that Neptune 2, I think, if I'm thinking of the same print. See, the advantage is the cooling motor, the cooling fan on this thing isn't huge. It's not like it's a blower motor. But because the print speed isn't stupidly fast, that cooling has more time to do what it's going to do before it passes away from wherever it was printing. Do you know what this printer reminds me of, honestly? The PX Malian one that I bought that was 330 by 330 by 300. This looks like a miniaturized version of it, and where the PX Malian didn't work that well, this is working better because it's smaller. The PX Malian had literally the same bar setup where the frame, well, I guess you can't see because I'm zoomed out. I just realized that I'm not looking at the live camera. I'm like, why is it not doing anything? So now I don't know what it's zoomed or zoomed out on. Oh, we got real close to the print. So if we look at this one, there are 4 smooth rods, 2 on each side for the Z-lift. And the PX Malian did the same thing, and it used brass bushings, which I would suspect is what this is using under the cover. But because the weight of that axis was so much heavier, because they've even gone as far as to use hollow smooth rods. So this entire thing's quite light. But because the X gantry slash Z, I guess, on the PX Malian was so heavy, it had trouble lifting up and down on those rods. What I ended up doing was gutting the top of it, so basically from the base down I left. But I designed pieces that screwed in where the original frame was attached, and I 3D printed 20 by 40 millimeter, not extrusion because it was just solid PETG, but a frame to fish it out, and I was able to convert it to use the standard parts for the Cruza Mark II, and the print quality was immediately after building it like that. The print quality was better than the best print quality I'd been able to get out of it during the initial running under its default configuration. So it's printing at 0.2 millimeter layer height right now, which is what they defaulted to in their Kira profile. The stepper motors it's using are the 28 BYJs, which have been used in a couple of RepRap projects. I built the Cherry 3D printer a number of years ago, which used modified versions of these motors. And there is I think it's the Toy Wrap, maybe, on Thingiverse that uses the same style of motors. But these ones seem to be performing significantly better than the ones I used for my build, so... I will have to take a look at I think I still have the page open. I'm going to download it and drag it into Cura and just take a look and see what it looks like. You're saying it looks pretty sweet. It doesn't look like it has holes to screw in it. So it looks like it's supposed to have two fans on it, is that correct? It doesn't look like there's holes to screw the fans in. Maybe you're supposed to use self-tapping screws or something? I'm assuming that's for the X1 as well. Can it make poutine? Probably not. Steven Z, how are you, friend? I definitely do believe, I definitely believe that the magic number is one of those things that'll bring you, that extra step further in your print quality. I've definitely had printers that had issues every X number of layers where one layer was slightly more smushed than the previous ones, and you ended up with like a super thin little band around it. Steven, this is the first stream I've done on my channel, and I don't think I've done one during the entire global situation that I'm not going to name because I don't want to get demonetized or whatever. But I don't think I've done one during the entire thing. Been hanging out with Glenn. Glenn and I do a stream every Sunday on his channel. Yeah, it's been a long time, so you made it back for the next stream. Just picking up where everything left off. We've got a somewhat decent looking benchy going. And we still got 25 people hanging out. I don't think we ever got to that coveted 30 spot, but hey, if 5 of you want to invite one friend each, we could be there. I don't know how interesting this type of stuff is to people. The printer build was so quick. We started unboxing at 2:05, and I think it was printing by 2:25. So, 8 screws all together to put it together, and loaded the filament, put the SD card in, and tapped the play button. The coveted EasyThreeD or EasyThreeD play button. It's not as coveted as the YouTube play button, but I started to push myself back from the table, and this table pushed back from me. There are an extra screw or two. I think just the one extra screw. So, I should double check the instructions to make sure I didn't miss something. It came with a 4 gig micro SD card. It is a no-name one, so I have no idea how decent it is. Yeah, it says 8 screws, so unless I missed one somewhere. There, and I checked the other side already, so. I don't know if there's a maximum size. A lot of these boards max out at like 8 or 16. It's when you can start to get to the, like going above 64 gig is, I'm drawing a blank on the format, but there's like the high density high density SD cards, so. I've got a spare 64 I can toss into it at some point to see if it'll read it. You'd probably never need anything that big though, since the only thing it's putting on the card is G-code. And with this setup, unless you're with this setup the way it is, you can only ever print the last G-code file you put on it. So you basically, if you wanted to reprint something, you would probably go in and recopy the file so that it would mark it as being the newest. Or you could just probably open it in Notepad and then save it. Hasn't started finishing any of the bow of the ship yet. There are certain parts that as it completes it, it'll print a little bit faster. So. Yeah, I've had that issue too. I've got a couple of devices that they won't work with any of the HC or whatever the name was once they got above 2 gigs. So tracking down ones that'll work on them has been tricky, but I would hope, since this is a new device, that it doesn't have a limitation of a card that's going to be impossible to find. Official AliExpress, and how is this one? That's the other news. I'm gonna have to get a review out on this quickly, because they've been cycling through models so quickly that this one may not be relevant a month from now. Although it does give you an idea, since there's so many models that seem to be quite similar / comparable for it. It gives you an idea of how decent the print quality is likely to be. I would say if you're looking for an EasyThreeD printer though, or an EasyThreeD, like I said, I don't know what they call themselves. Look for one that has the two fans, the hot end fan and the part cooling fan. The part cooling fan is a huge upgrade over previous versions of these printers. It is, I think, single-handedly been identified as being the one thing that previous versions of these printers were missing. So I'm trying. When I click on AliExpress, it's asking me to log in, and oh, maybe it's working there now. Please notice you need to change your power adapter for 60 watts to get enough power for the hotbed. Please contact us to get the updated firmware after you get this hotbed. So it is a $12.88 upgrade for this printer to get a heated bed on it. And it probably shows you a picture of the main board then, doesn't it? So the heat bed, or the print, the main board on this printer does include a connector built in for a heat bed. It's $12.88, but then it's $16 shipping. So now you're getting, you tack that on, so that's an extra $30. You're up to $130, well, less than that US. I'm probably gonna pick one up. I'm not gonna lie. Although it is printing quite well without one, and I can't imagine switching to try and use ABS or PETG on this. So. Should probably finish getting through the initial review before I... Mike with the $10 donation. Told you that magic screwdriver was worth it. Well, I guess I gotta save that for you now, right? You just paid $10 for it? This magical screwdriver that came with it? Oh, so I was talking about at the beginning of the stream when we went to do the build that out of the box it comes with everything you need to complete the assembly. So it came with a screwdriver, and then Mike said, oh, the screwdriver is probably worth $10. I said, oh, Mike just offered us $10 for the screwdriver, so that's $10 we reclaimed. So far, the only negatives I've had with this printer, when we opened it up, the hot end assembly was disconnected, and there are stress marks. I can't open up or zoom it out a little bit. There we go. So here, is it showing up? Am I close enough? There are stress cracks in the plastic here and here, where it clips together, and this was knocked off in travel, and the wiring was not properly seated. Everything was still connected, it just wasn't where it was supposed to be, so I pushed everything back into place and snapped it back together, but the future reliability of this section here is at least slightly in question. What I'll probably do later is I'll pop it off, I'll put a couple dabs of crazy glue on it, and let everything just set up. That's magical. I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough benchies in my life, but I think this printer's going to be able to knock out a few more for me. What happens if I put automatic bed leveling on this? Put a heated bed, automatic bed leveling on it. I don't even know how I'd go about doing it because there isn't enough space for me to have one in here. Hey Lars, hey, better late than never. Did everybody see the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie? They just released the second trailer. I really like Ghostbusters, so I've been looking forward to that movie, and it's been delayed twice because of the state of the world. But The new trailer looks very good. I was reminded of that because there's a scene in the second one where the police station gets a phone call from the harbor master down at Pier 21 or whatever, and he says the Titanic just arrived, and I don't remember if it was Cheech or Chong, one of the two of them, isn't it? And he leans out and goes, "Well, better late than never." So 24 BYJ? I thought they were... Why do I have 28 BYJ stuck in my head? You were right, correct. 24... Well, I'm just going to assume you got all the numbers. 24 BYJ 28s. I don't remember exactly which ones are on the Cherry then. And I can't see it from here, and I'm not going to go and pull it off the shelf. I actually think that my original Cherry printer may be soon disassembled and popped into a drawer. You can just mute the stream and go watch it and then come back and discuss it if you like. You just leave it running in the background in another tab or whatever. The thing is, I think you could gain yourself back another ½ centimeter to a centimeter on the Z-axis if the Z end stop was adjustable, and you compress these all down. Brian, I love the Cherry 3D printer too, but I don't know, this is doing a better job. And it takes up less room. They did a good job with it, I'm not gonna lie. If it wasn't for that creaking plastic sound, you wouldn't realize how cheap it was. I'm gonna annoy my wife. I'm gonna bring this upstairs with me tonight at the end of the stream. Our niece is with us right now, so I think she'd probably get a kick out of seeing it do stuff. We got our original rocket ship. Rocket ship. There we go. White's a very forgiving color, though. I mean, Brian, if you want to come pick it up, you can have the Cherry printer. You've loved it more than anybody, so. Let's see, is the printer sitting on something soft? It is not currently sitting on something soft. It would not be difficult to find something soft enough to... I should have just left it in the styrofoam. Now, are you talking about noise as in interference or noise as in volume? Because the other thing is, too, is the printer that has... or the camera that has my microphone that I'm using is currently sitting on the actual printer. The noise in the print down in the base here, I don't know if it's coming across on the camera or not, is being caused by the infill being printed before the... yeah, I don't think it's worth the drive from Texas to here to get it. It is a print and play original, but I don't think that'll... if anything, that probably devalues it. I forgot... Oh yeah, infill was set to print before the wall, so the infill is peeking out a little bit. So future prints will not have that issue. Oh yeah, if I take the camera off of the printer, I'm not listening to my own audio, but I'm assuming it just got significantly better when I did that. We might not get a chance to crack the bottom open tonight. We're going a little bit slower than I was hoping. Also, I don't think you could actually get here right now. Works and works decently. I don't feel like the first prints I got, and I love my printer bot. I'm not smack talking my original printer bot, but I think the print quality of the stuff I've gotten out of this today, the first two prints, has been better than my first few prints off the printer bot. And it was dead simple to build. I don't remember if you're here. I've repeated it a couple times, but we started unboxing at 2:05, and by 2:25 we were printing. We have 25 viewers right now, and we have 34 likes. If you have not yet clicked the thumbs up, well, I would appreciate if you did. The bungee speed will pick up a little bit there for a bit. Once it's finished the bow of the boat. We're getting pretty close to that. The assembly of this thing was really like building the CR10, but easier because all the screws are located on the top. It was they did the same type of thing where the XZ gantry was detached and then flipped flat so that they could pack it on top. So there was really not a lot of wasted space, if any, inside the box. Things were fairly well packed. Used decent thickness styrofoam. It got banged around a little bit in shipping though. I did not realize when I ordered it. I thought when I ordered it through Walmart that it was coming from a Canadian supplier, and it actually came in from China, so it had a bit of a trip. Yeah, I think that's the target market. Sub $100. I just dropped the rocket ship, so we'll never see it again. Sub $100 US, and you know, prints at decent speeds, does decent quality, and easy to use. They have I haven't tried the slicer, but I understand that their proprietary slicer is fairly simple to use, and it just saves to the SD card. Then you plug the SD card in and press play, and the play button, which is one of the buttons that's down here. The play button's right here. When you tap that, it automatically prints whatever the last G-code file written to the micro SD card was. So. Pretty painless to use. And I am all for tech that makes getting into stuff like this easier. How many amps can the average car battery provide? I'm wondering how long I could run this on a car battery for. It is barely drawing more power. Sorry, I can't say drawing because I haven't tested it. but the power brick for it is only 0.5 amps higher than the power brick for my 3D printing pen, which kind of makes sense because I think the insides of this are essentially a 3D printing pen. .48 amps at 12 volts. So 48 amps at 12 volts, and this thing draws, I would say, probably 2 amps. So I could run this likely off a car battery for like 20 to 24 hours. You found... oh, hold on. I gotta see if I can remember the name without looking up. The Zone Star P802QR2, the dual extruder one. I gifted mine to my brother so he could use it with my nephews. And so I dropped it off at my parents' place, and they were supposed to get it from there. And they've never gone and gotten it, so I think the next time I'm at my parents' place, it's coming back here. So I don't know what kind of state it's in. I mean, it should be in the same state that it was last time I saw it, but I don't have it on premises at the moment. I think that was the very first actual printer review I did, come to think of it. I didn't even have 1,000 subscribers back then. I was just little fish in a big pond. Now I'm still little fish in a big pond, but... I mean, it's always a shame when a printer's just sitting in the box not doing anything, so I second your need to put it together. I think things that I've discovered sort of just by being more experienced is that you'll probably want to do something to stiffen up the Z-frame a bit. The metal's a little bit thin. It wasn't bad, but you know you'll definitely get a little bit of noise from the vibrations and stuff. Put it on a padded surface, again to just absorb a little bit of that vibration, and install a newer version of the firmware, because whatever it came with was, and you probably would have done that anyways. But. I'll be interested to connect this up to my laptop or to an Octoprint instance to see what it's running for firmware. Based on the one that had the little OLED display, I'm assuming it's probably running some version of Marlin. I really want to break out one of my OLED displays and see if I can just connect it and if the firmware is already configured or if they have separate firmwares to the one with and without. Because it's very possible that I could just design a little 3D printed add-on that screws into the frame and then gives me that readout, which I think would be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, for those that weren't here earlier, there is another version of this printer that's exactly the same, except for instead of having 4 buttons, it has a dial and it has a 0.96 inch OLED display on it, so that you can pick stuff off the SD card or whatever. I mean, obviously there's got to be something different with the firmware because the play button is configured to pause and restart prints, plus and minus add or like extrude or retract filament. The home button tells it to home, so there's got to be some differences there. But I wonder if the OLED is still enabled so you can display stuff on it. Cut out the EasyThreeD logo here and put the display right there. They probably wouldn't love that though. But actually, the reason I found out about this printer, a company contacted me to ask if I would like to review it. And I immediately replied yes. I thought it looked cool. And for 2 or 3 weeks I didn't hear from them, and then after the 2 or 3 weeks had passed, they sent an email saying that they were no longer offering printers for review, and that they would contact me in the future if they had additional products. So I ended up buying it on my own, but I didn't buy it through them because I was annoyed. We're nearing the end of the benchy land. Yeah, I'm really tempted to try and design a better filament holder to snap onto this thing, but I'm also significantly concerned that the weight of even like a half or a quarter roll of filament may be too much for it, so... So is anybody else off today, or just me? Hey, Ann. Welcome to the stream. Yikes. Back to the grind. Oh, I meant like, did anybody have today off from work? Today was a stat holiday for federal employees in Canada. Mid-August. I feel like school always started in September for me. Well, I knew when I picked mid-afternoon on a Monday that it was probably gonna unfortunately impact some people, and they probably wouldn't be able to be here, but it ended up being free time that I could put something out into the world that's fun, so. I've heard lots of good things about the Voron printers. I have not used one myself. I know that once you've got them built and tuned in that they're supposed to be pretty much top-notch. Well, the weather is nice here. It was a pretty good day off. We ate lunch outside today. And then I moseyed on back down to the basement to do a little live stream. And nobody corrected me on the fact that I put a capital D on EasyThreeD. Even though the logo on the box does not have a capitalized D. Does anybody know officially if they call themselves EasyThreeD or EasyThreeD? Because I thought EasyThreeD was a clever name the way they spelt it, but... Yeah, I mean, for the price of the printer and the target audience, the one thing is the build volume is only 100 millimeters cubed. But it was assembled in printing in 20 minutes. It's got a removable build platform. And from what I've been told, this style of printer prints really well for flexibles, so I'll have to throw some of that out and see what happens. Print some squishies. Hey, I love streaming. It's just, I want to make sure that I'd gotten into the habit of just streaming whatever I was working on, and I think that was boring for people, so I want to make sure I'm putting out quality streams where people want to hang out and chat and all that jazz. So, when you're printing your first benchy on a newly assembled printer, it's a great time to chat and catch up with people. It's been so long since I streamed, I forgot that I had Streamlabs set up with this. It just automatically joins whenever I start a live stream. So. Just about past the, I don't know, I don't know what the holes are supposed to be. I guess it's where the anchors would come out. The anchor holes in the front. And I'd complained about saying that the cooling may not have been sufficient for the front of the boat to not curl, but it seems to have done a pretty decent job. I think I will probably try and tension up these belts a little, especially in the bed. The bed's got a little more play in it than I like. I want to get it a little bit stronger, a little tighter. You know what's funny? I have a heated bed that is probably the same size as the bed on this. It's 120 millimeters in all directions, but I'm betting it's 100 millimeters once you factor out the screws. I could probably just jury rig that one up to it. For those who weren't here for it, there is a heated platform for it that you can get as an aftermarket add-on from EasyThreeD, and Brian had found it and linked it on AliExpress, so I am debating it. But of course, if I have a print bed that's going to fit it anyways, I might just switch it for that one. It looks like we're going to run a little bit past 5 EST to get this thing done. I don't think the profile has cool lifting enabled, so I don't know how the stack is going to stack up on this benchy, but I guess we'll find out, won't we? getting pretty close to being done in the steering wheel, which is looking pretty decent. I do like watching a Benchy while it's printing, because then you get to see some of the geometry and stuff, especially in the wheelhouse, that you may not see as easily once the lid is on it. Motors seem to be holding up okay. A little more trim up on this if I can. Oh, too much. Too much. Better. Sorry about that sudden movement on the camera. You know what's funny is that in the live stream controls on my channel, right? Because I've got the ability to like end the stream and stuff from the interface. The interface still has the ability for me to super chat myself. Which basically just means I'm giving YouTube a tip because I'm sending them my own money. And then getting back less than I put in. I am debating, because like this, I literally did buy this as a joke. Well, not a joke, but like I bought it to see how good it could be, and then I was going to pass it on to somebody else. But it's so cute and so functional that if it holds up somewhat decently, I may actually hold on to it and use it as like the printer I bring with me to events. I know it's been up for a long time. It's been a race down to the bottom to see how cheap you can get something, but it's I don't know. I think there might be a marketplace for this if they can keep their costs down. Because at $100 or sub $100, it's not trying to be in the same place as the Ender 3, and that's the problem. Is everything's compared to the Ender 3 nowadays. You know, and it's what, 220 by 220 by 250 for the build volume. It's 2.5 or 2.25 to 2.5 times bigger in all directions. But if you're looking for something quiet to give your kids that can sit on a desk and stuff like that, you know, the Ender 3 takes up a unsubstantial amount of room. The entire size of this actually fits onto a CR10. Like, if I was to model this, I could print this as one piece on a CR10. And one of the things I've been working on is a redesign of the Cherry printer, but I don't think there's a place for me to do that now. Because, like, the price range this is at and what it's doing, I can use printed bushings and stuff like that to lower the cost, but ultimately it's going to be like, it probably won't work as well as this. I mean, and like, I've been watching 3D printers print for, I don't know how many years at this point, but I'm still mesmerized often just watching it run. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting here watching a printer print something, a Benchy, which I've seen printed I don't know how many times, and I'm not bored by it. My wife will often catch me on my phone watching one of my printers through Afterprint. She's like, "Are you just sitting there watching your printer?" Yeah. The bridges are the big thing I'm waiting for. Mr. Corral Science is heading out. The kids are ready for a nap. Well, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you sticking around and watching the stream. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm wondering if, like, even the roof, I'm wondering if it's going to be droopy on the inside or not. I do not... I mean, it should be able... It does seem like it'll be able to hold a speed up that'll be decent for bridging, so it may be fine. It's handled the overhangs on the benchy so far reasonably. This is the next technological revolution. I don't know what the 3D printing industry, in terms of the overall home market, holds for the next little bit. It's hard to say. Angus's video about reviews that are paid for or asked to be modified or whatever, it was pretty spot on. I certainly had issues with one printer I was sent for review where they used improperly gauged connectors, and it caused melting on the main board. And they asked me not to include it in my review. They said it was the first time they'd seen it happen, and that they were sure everything was fine, and then basically said, please don't tell people about it in your review. And I said, I'll tell people that you're saying that it's never happened before, but I'm not leaving it out. So I've had a couple of printer reviews that have been sent to me, and I give the good and the bad, and then I don't think they generate a lot of sales, so the companies don't send me any more equipment. So I can't say it's like, oh, I gave a negative review and as a result they boycotted me per se. It's more, I gave a negative review, which meant that the review itself didn't generate many sales. So because I gave a fairly decent review to I'm drawing a blank on it. We were just discussing it. The multicolor printer, the Zone Star, the P802QR2. It did a good job for the price it was at, and just in general how it works. And I got some affiliate sales off of that. That wasn't my goal, but I figured if I'm selling it, if I'm doing the review for that company anyways. But you know, fully honest review. And because they had it positioned at a point where it was quite reasonable for what they were charging and what it did, they then contacted me and wanted me to do other reviews, and it didn't all go according to plan for them. Because like I said, honest, generated no sales off those printers, and that was the end of it. The remaining layers will go a little bit faster because I think we are done with the front of that boat now. I didn't check the profile to see when it finished the first print, which was the little rocket ship that came preloaded on the SD card. Um, it had a weird homing thing where it like raised the Z-axis all the way up to the top, and then moved the head all the way to the left, then homed to the right, and then homed the bed, and then homed both the X and the Y again after that. So I don't know if that was built into the Cure profile or if it's just something that was left over from their original slicer in that first sample file. The Cure profile I'm using also came off their site. Now, I know when Elias Tech Tips did a review of one of their printers that the filament diameter was widely variable for the sample that was sent. So I'm wondering if their quality filament has improved, because this is a pretty decent print, but I am seeing some layering consistencies. So I'm wondering if that's just purely based on the fact that they're using a weird geared setup for their extruder motor, or if they're still sending filament that's not, not fantastic. I will be back in a moment. I'm still going to be in the basement. I just have to take something off the freezer because I realized that I didn't start my next print yet. space outside of where you can see me. Mad Mike is here. And Danny McWilliams. You know, like I've been saying all along, this printer has performed significantly better than I had any reasonable expectation that it would. I'm not saying it's fantastic. I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and buy it, especially because, again, you know, we're just in the first few prints. But I think it's performing reasonably well for what it is. Those curves in the doorway are looking pretty good so far. We're about to get to the tougher parts, obviously, but... You may be hearing a little bit of creaking and cracking. It's not the extruder. It is somewhere in the frame. It has kind of smoothed out a bit as it's been going. The corners on here don't look great, but thank you, Mike. So Mike, I was saying, I don't know if you're here for it. This build, we unboxed it. Started unboxing it at 205, and it was printing by 225. And so Mike, you have the PX Malian, the what is it, the T520? Is that what it's called? I don't remember what the. This is like a baby version of it in terms of the frame. If I zoom this out, so you guys can see, it has dual Z smooth rods. So it is very much, it looks very much like a plastic miniaturized version of that Tronxy printer, except for it works significantly better out of the box. And I think the reason for that is the fact that it's smaller, so it can get away with more. So I think it's still using brass bushings, but I haven't opened it up to find out. So I think it's very much inspired by that design, anyways. The T320, sorry. Right, because it was 320 by 320 by 320 for the build volume, right? So this could be the T100. The T1, no, it's the T800 from Terminator. Because it's 100 by 100 by 100. If they ever build a T800 in the same design, like in terms of 3D printers, that would be scary. I think this might be metal. Maybe not. I don't want to push on anything too hard and screw anything up. Because like I just pushed it down on this and it flexed, but that means it brought the entire frame inwards. Also, I don't know if I said thank you. Thank you for the $5 donation, Mike. I appreciate you. Should be getting close to doing that front window soon. Oh, there we go. We doing some bridging. So I ordered it through the Walmart website, and it's a Walmart community purchase or whatever. It's basically like ordering something through Amazon. I also had some misunderstandings about how ordering this through Walmart.ca went. I thought all products there, even if they were being shipped from the marketplace or whatever, were from Canadian distributors, but this one still shipped from China, so it took a couple of weeks. I'm out of beverage, but I think I'll just hang out till this is done at this point. The parts cooling fan is enabled, yes. She's running like a champ right now. Just don't put your hand in front of the track on that one. I'm a little jealous though, I'm not gonna lie. It has been a minute. I do think of you from time to time, but unfortunately, I usually think to message you when I am incapable of sending a message. So Kay's doing pretty well. The kitties are doing pretty well too. Mika still doesn't get around all that easy. And like they had told us we should restrict her to like a single floor, preferably like one room essentially, so that she doesn't exert herself because she's got osteoporosis. So we originally had her sequestered to just Kay's office, but then ultimately it was like, well, we want to give her access to the upstairs, so we bought a baby gate, and we put the baby gate up, and she jumped it, and so we're sitting downstairs and we heard a thump, and we thought that maybe she'd gone up and down off of our bed, and then she came sauntering down the stairs. And basically everything we've tried to do to keep her located to one area has led with her doing stuff that's going to end up getting her hurt. So we've ultimately decided that we do everything we can to make sure that she's not overexerting herself. At night, we put her in the office so that she and the other cat aren't fighting, because that's the biggest concern, is if the two of them are fighting. But we're letting her live her life. You know, if we get another 5 years out of her, but she's locked in a room and she doesn't get to do anything, that's not really fair to her. So it is printing, I believe, at 40 millimeters a second for the fast stuff. I haven't taken a full look at their profile. Give me 2 seconds here. Let's find out. So it's 40 millimeters a second for the inner walls and the infill and the travel, and it is 20 millimeters for the outer walls. And 40 millimeters, I believe, is basically as fast as these motors can handle. Initial layers on that roof are looking pretty decent. I am slightly back and forth right now because I don't know why, but I am terrible at printing PTG. I have PTG parts that are printing right now. I just want to make sure the first few layers don't screw up. I mean, the default slow speed, which like you can't get above anyways, apparently is quite reasonable for flexibles. This printer apparently handles flexibles like a boss, so I look forward to trying some of those on it as well. So my only recommendation so far is that it looks fun. It seems to be pretty decent as a toy, but I give no guarantees to how long it's going to last, because you never know. A lot of the early projects that use similar motors, the motors would burn themselves up. I have not done... I like to go in these reviews as unbiased as possible, so I didn't read any reviews leading up to it. I've seen some reviews about previous models of this printer, or not this printer, but this brand of printer, so I had an idea of how they were doing what they were doing, but I got it for $117 Canadian, including taxes, so fairly well under $100 US plus tax, I would imagine. I guess it'd probably be about between $80 and $90 if the math is correct in my head. Yeah, I'm going to spend the next few days printing stuff on this thing nonstop to see how it does. And I'll probably have a basic review done by the end of the week. I think I'm going to aim for like a 4 or 5 minute review. You know, talk about the top speeds, the build quality, the minor damage that was on it when I got it, and summarize it for the price point. Yeah, it's like I got Kayleen for her birthday one year an inflatable hot tub that was like $800, and it was just good enough to let us know whether or not we would use a hot tub enough to make it worthwhile. And yeah, that was, we used it for a couple of years, and we know at some point we want to get a an actual full-size hot tub now. They're just ridiculously expensive, and the current situation in the world has not helped that because they've been in demand even more than normal. I'd be interested to see how well we can tune it for printing things like miniatures and stuff as well. Although I think the miniature market for printing off of FDM has died down quite a bit since resin has become so much more affordable. The biggest compelling reason for FDM is size and price, but now that you can get a resin printer that'll print action figures and miniatures and stuff like that at a sub $200 price tag, it's hard to make the argument otherwise. Then obviously you get into the mess and stuff of resin printing. Yeah, this could be your backup 3D printer. So we were discussing there is a heated bed add-on you can get for, I think it was like $12 or $13 plus shipping from the EasyThreeD AliExpress site. So then you'd be able to print potentially like ABS. So, and this is probably big enough that you could print most parts for a 3D printer on it at 100 by 100 by 100 if you got creative. Getting pretty close. We got a couple layers left of the roof, and then it'll just be the stack. And then we can show this bad boy off and hopefully end the stream on a high note. Camping propane water heaters, that is. Did I miss something? You know what, Mike? I just realized I didn't turn on... How are you doing? I know last time we talked you were still feeling a little tired after going through the ringer there with getting sick. How's life been treating you since? Are you back on your feet? I'm glad to hear that. I've had some friends get sick too. I think most of them have made close to full recoveries. Hopefully there's no surprises in the future. Stack looks like it's cooling reasonably well for something that I didn't put the minimum layer time on. I wonder if it's keeping the Z motors engaged in between layers. They do stay warm, but not as warm as the other motors. But it's using belts for the Z axis instead of lead screws. We're at the top part of the stack now. It's just the part where it gets bigger. No, it's dual Z. There's a separate motor for each of them. Oh, You know what's weird? I never see Builder's Mark and Coke Zero together at the same time. The assembly is dead simple. It's 8 screws. Just about there. Last couple of layers of the stack. And we're done. And there's no heated bed, so it's just a matter of lifting up the removable build plate, giving it a little flexi flex. Again, doesn't look like there's any damage to the flexible bed. And this was printed on a raft, so we'll go ahead and peel that raft off. And we can take a look at it. So the overhangs, it did droop a little. I've definitely seen worse on much more expensive printers. The roof, I won't be able to probably show you on the inside. Kind of, sort of there. It didn't droop very much. The stack, looking like a snack. See what I did there? It's it doesn't have too much of the bulge. It looks so the one thing I was worried about, and I guess we'll have to see, is let's get to focus. These motors are notorious for having backlash in them, and as you can see, our circular stack turned out a little wobbly. So I'm gonna have to see if that's thermal issues or if that is it not being able to make very decent circles. The bow, pretty decent. There's some artifacting. I'm not gonna argue that it's a perfect benchy, but not much in the way of curling. I will say that. Look at that. It's pretty clean. It took 8 screws to put the Z-axis onto the lower section. There are, let me see, is it showing? There's 2 in front, 2 in back, and it's on both sides. So 8 screws and it's done. The bed could be maybe a little bit tighter. The X is tighter than the, but I think all we have to do to tighten up the Y is unscrew these slightly, pull back a little bit harder, and then tighten them back down so it doesn't slide. Yeah, so that might take out some of the backlash. Well, it's not backlash. That might take out some of the slack. If there's backlash in the motors, that's not going to make a huge difference to that. But so there we have it. That's the EasyThreeD K1 mini 3D printer. It's about $100, give or take, US, 90, something like that. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and plug power from it. I'm actually going to carry it upstairs with me tonight. My niece is hanging out here, so I think she'll get a kick out of watching something 3D print. And yeah, it's a magnetic surface with a little bit of build pack like texture added to it. Well, thanks for hanging out, Scott. I'm going to wrap things up here. I think dinner is probably ready. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. I thank the people that came in and out, but they may not be here right now, so everybody that's here now gets the final thank you, and I should have a review out on this probably film it this week. It'll probably be out next week. So. All right, everybody. I will see you in the next one. And thanks again. Talk to you later.